Thank you for joining us at Fish Fanatics. And this episode is actually brought to you by Whisker Secret Tackle.
So make sure you guys go to whiskersecret.com for all your catfishing gear.
Enjoy the episode, guys. Welcome back to Fish Fanatics. This is Grandy. This week, guys, is going to be really different. We are actually going to be releasing 3 episodes back to back to back. So the next 3 days, if you guys tune in, if you download the podcast, or you just subscribe and you watch it on YouTube, we're going to be releasing 3 episodes in the next 3 days. This is going to be part 1, and the reason being is Fishing Kit and myself, we actually luckily got invited by the Iowa DNR to join them at the Midwest Fish and Wildlife Convention, and by being there, we actually got an opportunity to speak with multiple fish biologists all over the Midwest. So instead of making it a 3-4 hour podcast, we decided to, we're going to break into 3 different days. That way you guys get a chance to listen, absorb, and really learn, fish about fisheries and everything all over the Midwest. So it's really super cool. So we had a great time. Thank you to Jeff Kopaska at the Iowa DNR for really inviting us and setting us up to really get there and really get a chance to learn about fish and drink beer with some fish biologists, man. Couldn't do anything wrong with that. So other than that, enjoy this part 1, and don't forget tomorrow, stay tuned for part 2. All right, enjoy, guys. All right, man, it's gonna be a fun day, I think. We good? All right, everybody. Oh, damn, I'm a little loud.
Well, because you're leaning forward.
There we go. Well, I'm always loud too, anyways. All right, is
Yeah,
that better?
You are.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Well, we closed the door too. Now it's louder.
Yeah, that's true. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fish Fanatics. This is Grandy with My Pop Fishing. We got
Kit with the Fishing Kit YouTube channel.
And today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're on site. We're actually, somehow, I have no idea. It was, a huge shout out to Jeff Kopaska at the Iowa DNR, but he hooked us up at we're at the 82nd annual Midwest Fish and Wildlife Conference. I think I said it right. Fish and Wildlife. I think. I'm
it's
pretty
on
sure.
Our freaking name.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, I'm right. So it is.
82nd
Dang.
Midwest Fish and Wildlife Conference.
Yeah. Somehow we got in. It was so awesome of Jeff to really set us up here. It's super cool. We just kind of walked the floor a little bit, got a chance to kind of see what's going on. They're having a reception. They have like a social hour right now, so we're definitely going to have a few of these.
Social hour didn't start yet. It starts at 6.
Oh, did it? Oh, sorry. But they're having these. In case you're wondering, if you're listening, lots of beverages, adult beverages.
Yeah, it's like super official stuff I never thought we'd be a part of.
Agreed. Who would have thought?
I mean, well, we're not really part of the conference, but we're here.
Yeah. Hey, they got us a separate room. They got us, freaking Jeff lined like a bunch of people, he said. So we're going to try and go through each individual. I don't know if this is going to be a 2 episode, because if we get them in here, I know this guy right here is going to pick all their brains about fish and everything, because they're biologists, obviously. But then on top of that, they're all from the Midwest, different states. And I think we're going to get an opportunity to really dive into how different states are ran, how different fisheries, different biologists probably work different states. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah, and then I think we're going to probably try to get Jeff on first. Then he could kind of set the stage.
Yeah, we'll try to do that.
What was that?
That was my vlog camera. Oh, by the way, yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to make an episode on the vlog because I'm an idiot and the shit got stuck. Stinking GoPros. Y'all got to fix that. The freezing.
But yeah, anyways, I think we're going to try to get Jeff up first. He can kind of set the stage for our other guests since he's the hometown hero.
Hometown hero. There we go. Well, we'll see what we can do. We'll try and see if we can grab Jeff. And then stay tuned, guys. We're going to, I think he's lined up a lot of guests for us. He told us about a half dozen to a dozen. So I don't know if we have enough questions, but I know we'll have enough beer.
Okay, just ask them all the same question.
Okay.
I mean, they'll all have different answers, I would assume.
Very true. Possibly. We'll see. Here we go.
All right.
Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned.
There we go.
Nice setup, boys.
Well, we try to somewhat look halfway decent most of the time. I mean, at least I try to act like I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, guys.
Are you recording over there?
It should be.
Okay. Just making sure. Yep. I don't want to be like, we're done, wrapped up, look at the thing. Didn't record.
We are recording. And as Fishing Kid said, we wanted to get Jeff here to, first of all, we wanted to say thank you, obviously, for having us a part of this and just coming here. It was really cool just to be a part of this. I've never seen it. I've never really known about this. So if you don't mind, Jeff. So, by the way, this is Jeff Kopaska for the Iowa DNR.
Yes.
That's introduced you. But what is this conference? What is it about, if you don't mind explaining to the people who are listening or watching?
Absolutely. So this is the 82nd Midwest Fish and Wildlife Conference. And it is a gathering of professional fisheries and wildlife managers from 13 Midwestern states and provinces. Okay. So we include Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and then Ontario. And mid-Canada, which is also kind of, got to get my, geography right. But I think that you go Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. But I'm not sure that Alberta is part of the North Central Division. So anyway, we're basically talking a quarter of the continent.
Wow.
Because actually the territories, the Northwest Territory and Nunavut are also part of the North Central Division of the American Fishery Society. So we're talking, a quarter of the continent is represented here. Wow. Now we don't have people from all those locations, but this conference brings these people together to talk about the different research science that's being done in these various areas of the United States and Canada. So what we have is we've got about 400 to 500 individuals on site here that are fisheries and wildlife, either professionals or students, professors, things like that from various universities. And both on the fisheries side and the wildlife side, and then we got another 200 to 300 that are virtual because of normally we would have about 700-800 people here in Des Moines when Iowa hosts. Mm-hmm. Iowa hosts this every 10 years, so I've been a part of this in 10 years ago and 20 years ago. I was the program chair for fisheries, so basically I organized all the fisheries talks for this conference and tried to get, advocated for people to come and give talks about certain topics. So we've heard a lot of really cool stuff about different projects this week. So it's a really phenomenal meeting. It's very grassroots. It's like a lot of times it can be the bosses of the agencies saying, this. This is actually the biologists, from the ground up, leading things. So what we're trying to do here tonight is I asked you guys to come, and I've got a friend of mine who's a biologist in South Dakota. He works on the main stem Missouri River reservoirs, Lake Oahe, and places like that. Okay. So he's going to talk about the fisheries available, really awesome walleye and smallmouth fisheries. And plus, they also have landlocked salmon in some of those reservoirs.
Like kokanee?
Yeah.
We might have dabbled with some kokanee before.
Okay. So we've got a biologist from Kansas who's been doing a lot of work on flathead and blue catfish sampling down there.
I get down with some blue cats.
Yeah, so we've got, I didn't tell you about this, but a guy from Missouri who's also a catfish biologist down there going to stop in. We've got a biologist from Ohio going to talk about a little bit more about Lake Erie walleyes. I don't know if you heard our DNR Fishing Report podcast from February, but we talked about the walleye fishery on Lake Erie. Yep. And so we've got an individual to talk about that, and then we've got, I think you might have heard if you listened to that, we talked about all of the telemetry work that they do. Like they have these sensors out there in the lake looking at where the fish move. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try and get one of those folks in here to talk tonight also, because we've got the guy that's in charge of that whole GLaDOS system that does all of that monitoring in Lake Erie where all of those walleyes are moving back and forth. And so he's here at the conference. He and I were having a beer last night talking So I'm going to try and get him in here to talk to you guys. It's just phenomenal.
Okay.
You know, you put these sensors in these fish, and then you can see where they're moving, and it's just really phenomenal information. Professor from Wisconsin, Stevens Point, come in hopefully and talk about muskies and whatever you want to hear about fishing in Wisconsin. And we've got some Minnesota folks and a ton of Iowa folks. So I wanted you guys to come in here and have this opportunity, because I know this just isn't an Iowa show. This is beyond that.
There.
And what better opportunity to sit down and talk with folks about their fisheries in other regions of the Midwest. And so that was really, I thought it was a phenomenal opportunity for you guys, and a phenomenal opportunity for these folks that are here to just sit down and visit about what's available in the places that they work. Because we all like to fish close to home, fish in our backyard, but we all like adventures too.
Right.
Very
And
true.
so what better opportunity to sit and talk about some of these adventures that people want to have. So let's give them an opportunity to hear about it.
I think, and you're spot on, because we have listeners in all those states that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's gonna fit to, like, they get to hear about their own state. So
Exactly.
they're gonna be excited about
Yes.
it. That's cool.
Yes.
And
So-
we're like right in the middle of all these states.
Yeah,
So we're only a few hours away from most of these states.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people that are here drove here for the meeting. You know, so it's certainly drivable for us to get to any of these places and do any of these things.
For sure.
Yes. So
There we go.
I really appreciate you guys coming and doing this. This means a lot to me. I thank you for your friendship, and I thank you for being willing to put yourselves out there and to visit with these folks tonight.
For sure. I wouldn't want to be anywhere. My wife was like, good luck. She's excited too, because my wife, she's a biologist or biology major.
Yeah.
So science is her background.
Yeah.
So she's like, what? You're going to be talking? She goes, man, you're going to suck it up. She goes, you ain't going to know shit. But she goes, I'm going to watch this one, because she goes, she loves science. So
Yeah.
it's her background. So she goes, I'm going to have to give this one a listen there and watch. I'm like, great. Hopefully I don't let you down, honey. So
All
see how it
right.
goes.
So here's the question that I want you guys to ask.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and get the guy that does the monitoring of the fish in Lake Erie,
okay.
and his name is Chris. Ask him, okay, you've got all this information. How do we better manage the fishery now that we have all this information? Okay, because these guys are the science data gatherers, but it's not just important to have a greater understanding of the science. How does that make a difference for the management of the fishery and, as we like to say here in Iowa, shortening the time between bites? Because that's what you want to know, right?
Exactly.
It's my job to make the fishery better, so that at the end of the day it shortens the time between bites.
I like that. That's true.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
Right.
yeah,
So
this is going to be great.
I
We're going to
can't-
have a great time.
it's gonna be fun, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for like Jeff kind of spearheaded this kind of thing. We didn't be like, hey Jeff, there's this thing going on. Get us in, please. Jeff kind of let us know about it. Like, hey, want you guys to get in. So I just want to say thank you. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it. It's awesome.
People love to talk about things they're passionate about, and
Yes.
everybody here is passionate about what they do. So, yeah, it's going to
Alright.
be great.
Ready to get started?
Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. This episode is brought to you by Kalona Brewing Company. If you live in Eastern Iowa, make sure to swing by Kalona Brewing Company's tap room. Amazing food and amazing craft beer. If you live in Central Iowa or in the Midwest, swing by your local supermarket and see if they carry the Kalona Brewing Company line of beer. And also swing by your local restaurants, local bars, see if they have Kalona Brewing Companies on tap. If not, make sure you guys request it. I kid you not, you won't regret that. Other than that, enjoy this episode, guys. I did have some notes. I don't know. I usually never prepare.
That's more organized than me. I literally got home from fishing, and like 5 minutes later, he picked me up to come here.
Pretty
I was
much.
catching channel cats through the ice today.
Must
Oh,
be
really?
nice.
Yeah,
I had a thing called work.
I took it off.
Yeah, I know. But all right, anyways, just to let everybody know, we have is it Ernesto Flores? Is that correct?
Yep.
Pronounced that awesome. And so he's from Kansas, the fisheries biologist in Kansas, correct?
Yeah. So I work out of the Emporia office. I don't know if you guys know where
We
Emporia
have
is.
no idea where that is.
But that's okay.
It's like an hour west of Kansas City.
Okay.
But
That helps.
Yeah. So
Okay, how about this? We go down to specific Milford. How far are you from Milford?
an hour and 50 minutes.
Okay.
So that's like an hour and 50 minutes north. Milford, man. Are you chasing blue cats down there?
We can get
before
into
you
it.
get any further,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
a big fan of Milford.
Yeah.
Like I got a annual Kansas license, even though I live in Iowa, because I like going down there so much. It's so fun.
Appreciate the business, man.
Yeah, I mean, I do solo trips. I'll do group trips with these guys. If nobody wants to go, like, okay, I'll just go by myself, catch big blue cats.
Yeah, we go because I have in-laws that live in Denver, Colorado.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure a lot of Coloradoans drive all the way down, and we meet. It's like technically halfway for us. So I go there, Kansas, to fish at least 2 to 3 times a year, and last year he got me on my very first blue cat. PB, but he's still giving me a hard time because I think
There's no evidence.
Here we go again.
Where's the pigs?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys,
Where are the pigs?
I was too excited, and I caught the damn fish, dude. It was the 25 pluser. All right, it was like the biggest blue cat I've ever caught, and the only one.
Did it look like a blue cat? Because at Milford, there's piebalds. They're like the ones that are like melanistic, so they'll be like looking like a blue cat, but then they'll have like these white melanistic, like almost albino, and there's albino blue cats in there too.
We talk about.
There's one that I caught. It was all white, but it didn't have pink eyes. So what would you categorize that as?
Unique.
Yeah, I thought it was an albino, but it had like pigment in its eyes.
Yeah.
And I made a post like, oh, that's not albino. The eyes aren't pink. Is there any truth to that? Does it have to have pink eyes?
I don't think so. I mean, the ones that I've seen, like the albino ones, so when we're out there shocking, trying to evaluate the population looks like for working. Those are the blue cats, the albinos that we pick up. They're probably like 18 inches, but they're just these tiny little things. Yeah, usually they're just straight albino with those like pink eyes and then white ghost looking fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get you the link to his YouTube channel too, because you can see all the.
See,
You'll
you'll
see the spots
for the fish that I
Here we
caught.
go again. We got to bring up old stuff, man. I swear I caught he was about maybe 100 feet away, and we were kayak.
I think
fishing.
100 yards is more like
About 100 yards. Yeah.
You guys are out there on kayaks?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Kayak. Yeah, I'm going down with my kayak to fish
Only
down
way.
there.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
When it's blowing on that lake, you guys are out there deadly as catching.
We were lucky at least the last trip I went with him on a kayak, it wasn't too bad wind wise. And we were stationary. We anchored down where we were fishing. So it was literally vertical fishing for these monsters. And everybody was catching. They all caught their PB that weekend.
It was a good weekend.
It was a great
Like
weekend.
on the hottest weekend of the entire year.
Yeah.
Right now at Milford, I'll tell you right now. So we're coming. Well, I mean, we're supposed to get like 8 inches of snow like tomorrow, but like after ice out at Milford, and you get a good south wind on that lake. So you know where the causeway is, the dam on the upper end.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a road that you go back there, can meander back on to the east of the causeway, and you get a good south wind. I'm talking like wind, like 30, 35 mile an hour, white capping. You sling your baits out from the bank, man. That's some of the best blue cat fishing, because the bait's just getting hammered up against the shoreline, so you're just catching up there, and those blue cats they're schooly. So I'm giving you guys some tidbit, maybe.
Okay.
We might have to just
mental
note and mute that part out for everybody else. Not just kidding.
Oh no!
Just kidding. We you know what? Because we normally don't mention lakes or anything like that, but today's a little bit different because we got everybody from all different states. Even I didn't even know we were going to even possibly get somebody from Canada, Ontario. I think that's what Jeff said.
You said they may or may not be around.
Yeah,
You got Canada and Kansas.
it's crazy.
The two best fishing providences in the world, man.
Oh, I actually had a few questions that some general people who actually live in Kansas or just curious about. I don't know if you can help answer that a little bit, and we'll dive a little bit more into the blue cats and stuff. But I did have someone who asked about, let me see, it says here, Is
the
it
carp one?
Is the carp one? Yeah. Can you? They said something that you can't use cut carp as bait. And they were wondering why, because a lot of people were, catching carp, and sometimes the carp literally jump into the boat, and they were just wondering, like, why can't the general public use cut carp as bait out there?
Well, I'll answer that question by saying that new in 2022, you are actually allowed to use dead cut carp as bait in the state of Kansas. That includes gizzard shad. So gizzard shad's probably a very common bait for blue cats. You guys know that. When I was looking at blue catfish, working for KDWP, still am, but when we were setting float lines, we were using cut common carp. Cut common carp. You guys are probably referring to like invasive carp, right? Like the jumping carp, silver carp, big head carp.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. He mentioned it to me. I was like, can't use carp. I was like, that sounds weird.
Yeah.
Because you could pretty much use anything you catch, right, in Kansas for bait.
Yeah, it has to be dead. And then you
right.
can't take, if you, like, let's say go to a lake that's got zebra mussels, you can't take the dead fish from that lake. It's illegal to actually take fish that are alive from that lake. So you could kill it, but, I mean, just for the sanctity of trying to preserve our lakes from not getting villagers, don't take bait from, a lake that's got zebra mussels and then go take it to another impoundment that doesn't have zebra mussels, just for the sanity of, let's keep them clean, man.
Right.
So it'd be best if you catch something from that specific lake that you're fishing on, and then if it's dead, cut that one and use that.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing it from, like you were just saying, from different lakes. It's just mixing the waters.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. Bait's kind of a tricky situation because you need bait to go fishing sometimes. So, yeah, like if you go fishing at Milford, a lot of guys have guides there. They catch gizzard shad, and that's their first thing in the morning. They collect their gizzard shad, and then they go, bait their hooks and stuff. But common carp is actually some of the best blue cat bait that you can use. And the reason it is, so we take the common carp, fillet it. The skin is so tough that when you put that big, 6-7 circle hook through that skin, when cats come up and hit it, the bait actually adheres to the hook better, so it stays on. Versus like a gizzard shad, those things sometimes they turn to mush.
Yeah.
The blue cat will swipe it. It's like, oh man, you pull up, reel up. It's like, okay, it's gone. New shad.
So they're probably talking about the jumping carp then. So you can't use that then.
You can now.
Now.
Actually, there's an outfitter in Missouri, I believe, who's now selling, like, how you go to like Walmart and find like the preserved gizzard shad that smell like formaldehyde that never work.
Yeah, pretty much.
But this he's basically packaging invasive carp, big head silvers, and selling it in like these big jumbo packages, and they're already cut and cubed, and they got like garlic flavored, all the flavors that you want to like attract fish. So yes, you can use invasive carp. Yeah.
Okay, so that's definitely going to answer that.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple people who actually requested that to find out if we can use cut carp. So that's going to be cool that they can start using that now. Asian carp.
Or invasive.
Invasive.
Yeah.
So they can start doing that. So that's cool.
But before common carp was okay though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when he mentioned that to me, I was a little confused. Like, can't use cut carp. Like, what about like common carp and stuff?
They just put carp, so I'm sorry, man. And they didn't put Asian carp, sorry. Or invasive.
Yeah, they're distinctive species. So I guess before they were called Asian carp, now everyone's trying to move towards calling them invasive carp.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And another good thing about common carp is it freezes pretty well.
Yeah.
Compared to gizzard shad. If I can help it, I never freeze gizzard shad because once they thaw out, it's freaking mush. With the common carp, you could thaw them out a couple times, and they're like freaking fresh.
Fresh bait's always the best, too.
Yeah, fresh is the best.
I mean, when we were doing float lines, we were throwing float lines at Wilson Reservoir. You guys know where that's at? It's like
it's west of Milford.
West of
right?
Milford, yeah. So that's actually where I started working in fisheries. Beautiful lake, blue water. It's got like striper in there.
Yeah. Can you jump into the stripers a little bit? Because I'm intrigued by these landlocked stripers, but I haven't fished that lake yet. I want to though.
So the stripers in Wilson, they're right now they're averaging probably like 15 pounds. It's one of the few impoundments in the state of Kansas that actually has stripers. There's an annual stocking program. We stock stripers in there, track them, see how they're doing. But right now, I mean, you guys know how it is to fish for white bass, wiper, striper. Yeah. You find them in the summertime when they're doing their thing, making surface noise. Man, yeah. You can throw anything out there, and those things are mean. But the stripers, man, Wilson's a fun lake. Like I was working out there, sampling fish, and I pull up next to this guy who's been fishing there, he's like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, we're bass fishing. But as he's like bass fishing, he puts like these 2 15-pound strappers. He's like, yeah, we ran into these on accident. All right.
You got any tips for someone going out there to target them?
Open water. I would just say open water. Wilson's kind of weird because it has walleye, it's got striper, it's got both species of largemouth, and the limiting factor at Wilson's really like habitat. So you wouldn't think of it when we're like electrofishing for largemouth, like you kind of think of like walleye and stripers as kind of the same species. They swim around, open water fish, they're always active, chasing bait. We find a lot of walleye like right next to the vegetation. Something to take note of is Wilson also has white perch. So white perch are no good. The reason is that they spawn a lot earlier than a lot of these other species that you're like striper. They don't actually, we stock them in there, but like white perch are naturally reproducing in this lake, and the white perch, when they reproduce, they just flood the market. So they're the first people on the block. They're like, all right, man, coming out of what's there to eat. So they're already decimating the plankton base for all the other fish. And if they're the first ones on the block, they're going to already deprive the amount of food that's there for everything else. Okay. So that white perch, and the reason I'm telling you guys this is because a lot of people, like for walleye, they like to bounce and bounce worms. White perch are going to eat those worms before it even touches the bottom, man. So a lot of guys are using swim baits. Like people who are having success, even for walleye, stripers, they're just swim baits, flukes. Like, a half-ounce jig head.
His favorite.
Oh, me too, man.
He loves the white flukes, this guy right here.
White ice. That's my favorite fluke color.
Yeah. Zoom?
Yep.
Oh, man. That's my favorite
man,
bait,
I like this guy.
Dude. So I'm getting ready right now my favorite time of the year to go is in March in Kansas. So jeez, daylight savings time, I don't ice fish. I'm not going to step out on ice in Kansas, man. I don't. But
you guys are a little bit more south than us.
Yeah.
That's why.
But in March, after daylight savings, you start getting more sunlight. The water has more time to warm up. Head out there with some flukes, crankbaits actually. But I always catch like my biggest fish of the year in the springtime, man, because they don't see a bait. In Kansas, it's like they're hibernating, I guess, all winter, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that looks like a fish.
Like it's time to eat.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into the blue cats. Why is Milford so notorious and such a good spot for blue cats, and why are they thriving so well down there?
So blue cats were stocked into Milford in 1990. It was the first year that they were stocked for somebody to try to manage and kind of grow that population. Milford's also super productive. If you guys have been there, the water's green, right? It's got that good fishy color. Mm-hmm. So that means it's super nutrient rich. So you're talking about blue cats, but they also house a very healthy population of wipers, white bass. Limiting thing, like I said, for largemouth, not so much on the largemouth side, just because there's not enough habitat. Has great smallmouth down by the lower end, down by the dam, but it's just so productive, so it can sustain a lot of biomass. But when we stocked them, it took them about 12 years for us to see them reproduce. So now that population, you think 2022, it's 32 years old, man. It's taken that long for that population to grow. So when you think about blue cats, these fisheries that have these big 50, 60-pound fish, it takes them 30 years. I'm 28, man. I wasn't even born.
Most of these fish were, wow.
Yeah, so it just takes them a really long time. And I think a lot of populations in Kansas, there's other reservoirs that we stocked them in. They're in the 10 to 15-year range. So they're at the point where we could see them just explode. So you guys know Milford. Milford has a lot of like catfish tournaments, national king cat. I mean, all the time. There's guides out there, big boats, 800 rods, just chasing these fish. I think we could see in Kansas, like in the next 10 years, you won't just talk about Milford. You could talk about Tuttle Creek. You could talk about El Dorado. I know you said not to mention specific names, but man, blue cats they're coming on in Kansas.
Yeah. So is Milford kind of like the template for these other lakes?
Well, it was the one that was stocked first, I guess.
Right.
But the thing that we're seeing with Milford now is, yes, they have a lot of 50, 60-pounders, but anglers are just really good at catching these fish, man. When you're throwing out a 10-aught circle hook with a big chunk of meat, those 18-inch fish are probably going to leave that alone. But we did a project there to try to estimate what the total amount of blue cats existed in Milford, and it was upper in the millions, man.
Jeez.
Like millions. But what people don't realize is a lot of those million fish, probably like 90% of them are all like 18 inches. So I would say it is the template. We've loved to see the success, the notoriety, the attention that Milford has. But, I mean, we're starting to see some like density dependent competition. So there's a lot of blue cats now. So now we're not seeing, I mean, with anglers being as good as they are, they have the ability to take those big 50, 60 pounders out. And then once you lose those, all you're left with is all those 18 to 21 inch fish left in the system. So it is kind of the template, but you know, it's just something we're trying to monitor with our other populations. It's one of those things, if we knew now, you know, what could we have done then?
How long do blue cats can live up to? Do we know?
Yeah, we age them. So the way we age them is we take the pectoral spine, the things that always, every time I get spined by a blue cat, man, I'm squeamish about blood. So we have to cease all work. I'm like, I'm done. Stop the bleeding, man. But the pectoral spines, we disarticulate them. They're called, the pectoral spines. And then we take them back to the lab and section them through the knuckle. So if you're ever like filleting, you know, cleaning a blue cat, next time pay attention to that spine. If you can get it to pop off and disarticulate it, the spine, once it's all clean and everything, we take it back to the lab. We section it with this saw that's like $4,000. It's basically like a diamond cutting saw, but it gives us these sections to where they're very small, and then we put them underneath a microscope and can basically count how many rings are on that section and count, just like a tree, just basically like growth rings. So what our findings was, we actually evaluated the Milford population in 2019. The oldest fish we caught was 22 years old. And this was, I mean, probably approaching 1,100 millimeters, right off the top of my head, probably, you know, more than 40 inches. It's a 40-inch fish. The biggest one I've ever sampled out there was 55 with electrofishing, and that took two, you know, that's a two-person hold.
Yeah, that's a big boy.
Yeah.
Definitely. Man, that's so cool, dude. Man, I wish we had more time. But there's so many other people we got to talk to.
You guys gonna kick me out? No, it's all right. It's all right.
Would you mind, actually, if we set something up, and we can do Zoom, and we can get really into detail? Because there's another lake. I'm glad we didn't mention it, but
we talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Exactly, offline. But we have a lot of listeners in Kansas, so I would love if we get an opportunity to get you back on. We can just do a Zoom whenever you're available or something like that, and we can really get down to the nitty gritty of your fishing outline and everything, and we just, you know, we can just have a really good time and have a full hour or whatever to talk.
Power hour. At least, maybe. Well, it depends how much time you have.
I'd love nothing more than that, man. I have to be honest, though. You guys got to take what I said, you know, about blue cats. I evaluate them for my job and stuff, but I've only ever caught 2 on rod and reel.
Really?
And it's disappointing to say. I don't want to admit it on air, but but I mean, I chase these things for work, so I understand some of the biology and what they're doing. I say that, and we actually don't really understand them at all.
This guy has done pretty well in the past couple of years, I would say.
Not bad for an Iowa guy.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. But
in a kayak, no
definitely.
less.
So we got a. Is that Mr. Jeff Kopaska knocking?
I think so. I see a giant through that door.
Yeah, so we got to wrap this one up, but we'll definitely get Ernesto back on, guys. So he's going to bring some more knowledge for us, and thank you so much, man, for just stopping by and having a beer with us.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Anytime. I'm glad to meet you guys.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.